I don't know if you noticed, but people are waking up. They are calling out the lies and the propaganda, and they are rediscovering old truths and health secrets, and are finding new, lesser known tips to maximize health, energy and testosterone. An esoteric awakening is happening right now, and it was about time. So if you're looking to maximize your vitality and maybe normal advice doesn't really work, this is perfect for you. Guys like Karl Ram and Musaios and plenty of Instagram pages are getting more and more attention for their esoteric health advice. But why is this happening right now? And is it really good advice? Will it actually improve your life? Because some of their takes are very controversial and maybe actually even harmful. What advice can you follow and what advice should you maybe ignore, at least for now? I'm gonna take a look at the current state and controversial topics like eating raw meat, raw eggs, not using sunscreen, drinking raw milk and more. But first, what is this esoteric awakening and why is this happening right now? Now, the definition for esoteric is intended for or likely to be understood by only a small number of people with a specialized knowledge or interest. So this is not for everyone, and you will soon realize why. Realistically, the people who want this are a special kind of people. Honestly, maybe my kind of people. I feel you guys. For one, these people are looking for something new, and I totally understand why. Social media has been around, and we know and we heard hundreds of times before that we should eat a balanced diet or walk 10,000 steps a day, etc., etc. And I think this leads to a natural rise of uncommon, secret, unique, new or esoteric advice. So now they talk about stuff like avoiding to touch receipts.
No thank you, I don't want to destroy my hormonal health and lower my testosterone.
Avoiding polyester, eating more red meat, more eggs, raw meat maybe even, or raw eggs, raw milk, or maybe also not cooking with non-stick pans. Generally avoiding plastics at essentially all costs.
Stop drinking from plastic, stop wearing plastic, stop consuming things that have been heated up in plastic.
Avoiding heavy metals, and of course there is even more to it. And to be fair, some of this stuff sounds really reasonable. And some of it is probably accepted by the normal person too. By the way, I'll share my honest thoughts at the end of this video. But some of it also just sounds a bit out of pocket. Or maybe not really relatable, not backed by science, or straight up not legit. More like harmful instead of healthy and helpful advice. But right there, when the average person isn't really sure if that's actually legit and only a few people understand and get it, that's when it gets esoteric, isn't it? Now, of course, the advice should be legit. It should be helpful and should improve your health and vitality. But if people don't get it or agree, the definition of esoteric I talked about earlier becomes true. Yet, to be fair, and this is just my opinion, maybe I'm wrong, but I think a lot of this stuff, like not drinking tap water even in very developed countries, is probably not extremely life-changing. Or maybe also drinking raw milk instead of just high-quality pasteurized milk. Is it gonna completely change your life? I don't know, honestly. I don't really think so. But I will still say that maybe it is that slight advantage, that niche knowledge, that small extra boost for improvement that these people, yes, including myself, are looking for, and that still might change your life because those small things can still accumulate to something big. I'm not trying to say this esoteric health advice is bad. Definitely not. I'm recently really diving deep into this. But for one, it's not for everyone. I don't really think it's for beginners because it isn't for everyone and it probably is not truly relatable for many people. And it's more to get you to that next level, to get those small improvements to push you even further. Because in an isolated state, like I said, those things aren't gonna have that big of an impact. Fixing your sleep, setting goals and reducing bad habits is gonna have a much bigger impact, but I wouldn't call that esoteric. Still, funnily enough, a lot of this esoteric self-improvement is not actually new knowledge. You can find and discover a lot of this just by going back in time, going back to the roots, back to the good shit. But this leads me to the next segment of this video. This leads me to another reason why this is happening right now. Let's face it, usually conservatives push this stuff. And I'm gonna talk about specific examples soon. That's not me trying to say this is good or bad, but from what I see, this is very true. And I get why. In those recent years, more and more woke bullshit was forced upon us. And of course, not everyone wants that.
People are suffering.
And maybe actually, to some degree, it's going in the other direction now. At least in terms of what the people actually want and are interested in. Now this might just be my experience from being in this bubble, but I just looked at the Google trends for the keywords religion, Christianity and the carnivore diet. And this stuff is rising. And in my opinion, this might actually be needed right now. Today, many people are woke. Everyone kinda stopped eating meat, they eat more carbs, more trash too. Or they go vegan, especially in my generation. Like for real, I just went on Tinder just for fun. And basically every girl is vegan. I'm not kidding. Every girl is vegan. Like, it's crazy. Here in Germany, the institution that gives the recommendations for how people should eat now officially recommends just 1 egg per week.
What?
And they're not saying at least 1 egg per week. Just 1 egg per week.
No, I don't think I will.
You kind of get that sense of like, okay, less than 1 egg per week is fine too. But I studied eggs a lot and there is no reason why people should eat just 1 egg per week. Eggs do not actually increase risk of heart disease. They definitely don't make you fat, but instead they make you energetic as fuck, increase testosterone and get you giga yoked. Like eggs are a nutritional powerhouse and the best superfood for the average person who doesn't want to eat stuff like liver. It's so good. Yet they continuously say that eggs are bad and you should now eat just 1 egg per week. Of course, people are turning to this esoteric health advice. I'm doing it too. And that is by far not it. I just addressed testosterone. That is dropping hard in the last decades. Like we halved the average testosterone since the 70s. Mental health is worsening like crazy. Anxiety, depression and suicide rates are going up. And people are turning away from God. They want to put a speed limit on the Autobahn. Terrible. Not good. They get addicted to TikTok, to Instagram. They lose all social skills, etc, etc, etc. So even though we as a species, or what we have with technology and stuff, is definitely advancing and developing at crazy rates, many things are going bad at the same time as well. And I'm not saying this is all interlinked, but those were just some examples of recent developments that are not esoteric and not based. And of course, there are people who want that esoteric advice right now. Generally, I don't think it's unfair to say that we as a society might need this push towards traditional, based, holistic or esoteric self-improvement, health advice or whatever you want to call it. Extremes in this realm are always bad, but especially of course when it leads to a better life, which I think all of those esoteric gurus, including myself, are trying to do. Of course it is appreciated, needed and helpful. But does it? Does it really do that? And of course, each topic, each quote, each advice requires an individual evaluation. But let me just look at some common examples and give you my personal opinion on this. One big topic, for example, is diet. Usually the accounts on Instagram, like Jordi Vitality, Testonergy, Santa Cruz Medicinals, who's also here on YouTube with guys like Rakam, Musaios and so many more, they usually lean towards an animal-based diet. And they are definitely not following the traditional food pyramid. Way more red meat, way more eggs than just 1 per week, and more butter and saturated fats too. And the average NPC thinks that's unhealthy as fuck. But the truth is, this stuff can be extremely healthy. Now, I just quickly want to say, I'm not a doctor, this is not personal advice, this is just for entertainment, blah blah. But those foods are extremely nutrient rich. They are good for health and testosterone and will make you feel much better than eating pasta with tomato sauce. or whatever the usual recommendation would be. An animal-based diet, in my personal opinion, might be the best way to eat. Or maybe a keto diet too. In some instances, carnivore as well. But also in some instances, probably vegan, vegetarian, stuff like that as well. But I think extremely rarely. Personally, I like keto a lot too. It makes me feel the best and most energetic. And I'm also about to go 80 to 90% carnivore, literally today. But I also think adding more fruit, adding honey, and at the same time maybe reducing the veggies is probably not a bad idea. I don't have a strong opinion on this, but I do have a strong opinion on red meat and eggs actually being extremely nutritious. And this is not subjective, this is an objective truth, and therefore they will almost always be extremely good for your health and your energy and your testosterone and your brain. Yeah, you get the point, right? But this leads me to another thing. Raw stuff. Mainly raw honey, raw milk and raw meat, which I'll talk about in a minute again. Personally, I think raw honey, perfectly fine. I don't see a problem. I'm not aware of any risks, like raw honey, let's go, give me that. Raw milk, honestly, in my personal opinion, I don't really know. Like, I don't know if it's really that good, if it's really worth to take that risk of infection. I couldn't really find reliable, good sources that actually analyze this in depth and also make me believe that raw milk is actually much better than pasteurized milk, or let's say even just a bit better, while at the same time the risk of actually catching a disease is still very low. I think that's the case for me, for raw eggs. I'm not scared of raw eggs. And I will say I'm also not really scared of raw milk. If I would have easy access right now, it is illegal to sell in Germany, or at least no grocery stores sell this, but then I would probably drink it anyway. But I do see the concerns of pasteurization just being a safety measure, probably killing some enzymes. But is raw milk really that good? Honestly, I'm kind of tending towards yes, but I also don't know. If you do have, feel free to send me resources about raw milk. Then there's more esoteric advice I'm not really sure about. But I want to go over those quickly because this video is already getting a bit long. If you watched until this point, you're my man.
You son of a bitch.
So for one, there is this advice of not using sunscreen. It's actually bad for you, they say. But honestly, I'm not really sure. Like, skin health and even cancer is a concern, and I don't think that's just made up to keep us sheeps. Yet I will say I don't use sunscreen that often. I actually try to not use it when I know I'm not in the sun like for crazy long times. But if I know I'm in the direct sun in the middle of the day, I'm definitely gonna burn myself. I will still probably use sunscreen. I'm trying to get used to not using sunscreen and at the same time not burning myself. But I don't know if sunscreen is actually that bad. Maybe it is. Again, I'm not really sure. But there are quite a few studies that say too much sunlight, too much UV rays are actually bad for your skin health and can cause legit skin cancer. But another thing I'm a bit unsure about is raw meat. Like, we have Met here in Germany, which is just raw ground pork, and I do have that from time to time. And I never even thought about it, I just ate it, and I never ran into issues too. So again, I'm really not scared of it, but eating like a raw steak or even just packaged raw ground beef that's probably a few days old in a plastic container, I don't really feel it, man. Sorry. Scientists claim cooking actually helped us to advance and develop better brains, or bigger brains I should say, and grow taller. So, I don't know. I'm also a bit unsure about the carnivore diet. Like I said, I will try it, literally starting today. But is it really optimal? Is it really the best way to eat? I think for some people, yeah, definitely. For many people, no. Is it something we should preach and say that it's really a good diet just in general? I think that's very problematic. Diet is always individual. So I'm not for or against the carnivore diet. Maybe in a few weeks you will see me preaching the carnivore diet all the time, and that's fine. But for me, I don't really know if I'm fully sold. No fiber. Do we really not need it? Less vitamin C, for example. Do we really need so little? I don't know. I'll find out. Tap water is another thing I'm unsure about. Is it really that bad? Probably not. If you want that perfect health, don't drink tap water. That's my opinion. But for an average person who also doesn't have too much money to spend in countries like Germany and here in the EU, where usually the restrictions are a bit more strict than in the US, it's probably fine. Sunning your balls? I don't know, man. Not using Bluetooth headphones? I just haven't looked enough into it yet, so I won't make a big statement. But is it really that bad again? It's probably mainly about just 1% improvements, or maybe 2%, but it's not gonna ruin your life. Yet, at the same time, some of it, I think, is very good. And I even apply those things to my own life. Let me just quickly go over this, then give you my final conclusion, and then you can go and make yourself some eggs. The sun is not dangerous. I think getting sunlight is extremely important. To have some people thinking, oh, I can't go outside, it's gonna damage my skin, or at least let me first put on like a thick layer of sunscreen. I think that's just terrible. Avoiding seed oils and processed foods, that's a no-brainer. Eat more fat and protein, definitely. Hell yeah. Butter, meat and eggs are healthy. I talked about that earlier. Breathing techniques can work. I do put beef tallow on my face. Yes, I do have those 2 fucking pimples that broke out because I broke my keto diet, like I had a lot of apple cake. My bad, but that's not because of the beef tallow. Liver is a natural multivitamin. I don't eat it because I take pills, like liver pills, because I hate the liver taste. But those are really the big things I do myself as well, and that I understand, believe, mainly because I saw studies, I saw the science, it makes sense. But some of it I'm just not really sure about. I think often it's just about controversy. Of course, that gets more attention. And I probably should have started this video by just saying, soy is making you a woman. You should only eat meat, stare into the sun 3 hours a day, and never drink a single drop of tap water. That would have probably worked better, but I wanted to make this more nuanced. Still, I do like this esoteric awakening. I like a lot of the advice. I apply a lot of this to my own life as well. And for many things, I'm definitely researching, even though I'm not really convinced. So I'd like to approach this with a bit more care. But the return to the basics, to proven concepts, to natural remedies, I rock with that. That's my vibe too. So if you like that as well, if you're still watching this video, even though it's kind of long by now, definitely feel free to subscribe. I will talk more and more about this. Very likely also the carnivore diet and what it does to me and my energy, because that's the focus of my channel, health, energy and testosterone. But of course, that's all gonna be up to you. For now, have a great day, eat your eggs and bye.